च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. On Ramakrishna, the Great Master. We are all now going to Kamarpukur as the friends and playmates of Gadadhar. Now, yesterday we saw how Manik Raja, one of the richest landlord there in Kamarpukur, a little away, Bursubo was the place, how once when he saw Gadadhar, he felt so much of attraction after that. He used to continuously want that Gadadhar should come to his house. He should be there. He should be interacting with him. That was the intense attraction he had. Now, at the same time, we also like to know what is our great Holy Mother doing. Where is she now? She is watching. She is the Leela Kartru, Divine Mother is the one who is the Shakti, who is the Shakti Samanvite, who is the power behind everything. So she is guiding all these things, isn't it? The whole Leela, because Krishna Bhagavad Gita, he tells that I take the help of my Prakriti or energy or Maya, and then I do all these Leelas, the sports. So we should also see what is our Holy Mother doing now. So I'm getting so many messages from India about one incident. Maybe I have got some 60 or 70 messages about one special incident, how Holy Mother is protecting some of the devotees. It's not sadhus or it is not some other great saints. How Holy Mother is protecting regular, ordinary, householder devotees. So I will just read that incident which has happened yesterday. And after the incidents, I think I have got so many messages. I just wanted to share, to show you the Leela Kartru, the one who is behind all these things, every happenings. It is a Prakriti Mother, Divine Mother who is doing everything. So what is she doing? How is she helping our devotees of Ramakrishna? How she is the mother of everybody, the devotees of Ramakrishna? I will just narrate this incident and then go forward to see the childhood of Sri Ramakrishna in the form of Gadadhar. One revered Prabuddha Prana, I think it is the name of Mataji, revered Prabrajika Prabuddha Prana Mataji. This message has been sent from her. Means it's going on everywhere. What is she telling? Prabuddha Prana Mataji. I want to tell you about Prabal Banerjee, the proprietor of Trio Press, who prints Advaita Ashrama books. It belongs to Ramakrishna order. So he prints the book of whatever Advaita Ashrama orders. So the books are printed by him. And many Sharada Mat books also. He is the one who is printing many Sharada Mat books also, including some of mine. Mine means revered Mataji, who is writing this article. Last week, he was diagnosed with COVID. That is, our coronavirus attacked him. He was diagnosed with COVID. So I always call it, instead of, to take away the sting of anxiety and fear out of COVID, instead of C, I put G, then I add one more N, then it becomes, instead of COVID, it becomes Govind. So the name Govind will bring so much of peace in our mind. If you tell COVID, you will get anxiety. Instead, if we call it Govind-19, so it will be more appropriate, or it will give joy to us. Govinda, our Ramakrishna is none other than Govinda. So COVID, and 75% of his lungs. So he was attacked by coronavirus. So, and 75% of his lungs, that is Prabal Banerjee's lungs, were blocked. The doctor said only a miracle could save him. And he was in terrible pain. He couldn't breathe. Day and night he cried, because now he's a devotee of Ramakrishna Ashrama and Sharada Mat too. And now, all of us, whatever, when we are happy, we are with Ramakrishna. Whenever we are in any trouble, immediately we run to our mother. That is the natural tendency of every children, isn't it? So now he was in great difficulty. The doctor said only a miracle could save him, and he was in terrible pain. Day and night he cried to Sri Sharda Devi that he could bear the pain no longer. He couldn't bear the pain. It was intense. He can't breathe. So he was crying to Mother Sharda Devi. Yesterday, that is the article, this message came to me yesterday. That means it has been written day before yesterday. That's all. This incident has happened just 2 days back. So after a week in the hospital, he was taken, that is Prabal Banerjee, was taken for various tests and found to be COVID negative. Earlier, his whole lungs, 75% of the lungs is infected and he can't breathe. He's feeling he's almost going to die. The doctors have declared he cannot survive. So only a few more days. But now suddenly, he was taken for various tests and found that he is now suddenly COVID negative. That was 2 days back. He was in the hospital for more than 1 week. But 2 days back, all the tests are proving that he is COVID negative. Now, Prabal Banerjee explained that while he was crying in the hospital, in the ICU, he was crying for Holy Mother to say, I cannot bear the pain no longer. An old woman came to his room and sat near his bed. An old woman came to his room, that is the hospital, and sat near him, near his bed. He wondered how that old woman could come near a COVID patient, that too without a mask, because they will not be allowed inside the department or in that ICU or in that place, because without the mask, nobody can come. Now you know the social distancing and so many other things. So he wondered, that is Prabal Banerjee wondered, how could that old woman come near a COVID patient and without a mask, and that too sitting near me. But the next day, he was better. After this happened, after that old lady came and sat near the bed, then he was better. When his strength returns, he will come back to the mutt. So this has happened just 2 days back. He cried for Mother Sharda Devi. And now what happened? He himself has explained that an old woman came to his room and sat near his bed. And after that, the whole thing reversed. And now he is COVID negative. And he's feeling more healthy. And he may come back after he's completely recovered, he will come back to mutt. That is the short incident which was sent to me. I think I have got more than 40, 50 messages since yesterday, and it is going around everywhere. So I just wanted to share with our devotees how the Shakti Samanvite of this great avatara, Ramakrishna, is protecting her devotees. So I have told many a times in my talk, whenever you are in fear, whenever you are in anxiety, whenever you are afraid of something, what did Mother promise? Mother Sharda Devi has told, my dear child, always remember when you are in difficulty that you have a mother. So our mother is always behind our back protecting us. Just you have to remember her. No big mantras, nothing are necessary. Just if you call her mother, that's all. She will be with us. We have seen the example. So we can take this and we can be more stronger. Mother is protecting her. So many such things, so many such miracles Mother is working out in the life of the devotees. Now coming back, the Leela Kartru, who is doing all these things. It is she who does all this nature, this Prakriti, this whole world is run by her. She is the prana. She is the energy, the original prana. She is the energy to run this whole world. As Krishna has told, even for the Lord to take birth, he has to take the help of the Prakriti Mata, the Maya, Mahamaya. Mama Maya Duratyaya. So that's why while we are singing Mother's praise, Sharda Devi's Prakritim Paramam. So revered Abhedanandaji Maharaj has sung Prakritim Paramam Abhayam Varadam Nararupa Dharam. So about Sharda Devi, Prakritim Paramam, Parama Prakriti. So she is the Shakti now. She is the Divine Mother who has come and she is protecting us. We'll go forward with her grace to see the Leela and enjoy the Leela and meditate on Sri Ramakrishna's sports. In the last class, we saw the courage, fearlessness of Gadadhar. As days went by, boy's remarkable courage also began to show itself in various ways. Without the least hesitation, he went to places where even elderly dared not go for fear of ghosts, ghouls, and the like. His father's sister, Ramashila, would sometimes be possessed by the spirit of goddess Shitala. She then became, as it were, a different person. Once about this time, when she was staying with her brother, that is Kshudiram at Kamarpukur, one of those periodic transformations came over her, and everyone in the house regarded her with awe and devotion. But Gadadhar watched his aunt in that state, no doubt with reverence, but without the slightest fear. How fearless Gadadhar was. This is how we have to bring up the children. Fearlessness. Again and again, Swami Vivekananda tells, be fearless, be fearless. The one word which falls like a bombshell in all of the society from the Vedas is abhihi, abhihi, be fearless, be fearless. The scriptures are telling again and again, you are protected by the Lord, you have the Lord within you, you have infinite strength within you. Have Atma Shraddha, have faith in yourself, faith in God. Be fearless, nothing to fear. Now we have got this again, another proof. We have to be fearless because our mother, dearest mother, holy mother is guarding us, protecting us. Then where is the question of fear? Now, Gadadhar would watch without the slightest fear. He stayed near her and observed very minutely the change that had come over her. Afterwards, he said, it would be splendid if the spirit which possessed my aunt would possess me. So he wanted to experiment to see how it would be if that goddess possessed me. So Gadadhar was an innovative personality. He wanted to experiment so many things. This method, this nature can be observed in a large way, in a bigger way. As he grew up in the time of sadhana, he made his own mind, his own body, his own personality as a laboratory. He experimented so many ways, the paths to reach God, through so many different types of religion, so many different ways and paths of Hinduism, the tantras, in that 64 different tantras, the Vaishnava Shastras, then Shakta, Shaiva, everything, varieties. So he experimented on himself and realized God in different ways. So that can be seen even in the seed itself. As he was growing, he wanted to experiment. He wanted God to come possess him whatever he used to see about God, he was so interested. See, Gadadhar had many dreams, so many thoughts. We have many other thoughts. It will be all worldly. But you can see Gadadhar from the childhood. What was his inkling? What was his desire? So this was one of the desire. When next any other situation comes, I will tell you what was another desire of Gadadhar. So now in the childhood of Gadadhar itself, we can see the tendencies, the impressions. We can't call it impressions because Avatar Purusha, the Lord himself coming down, will not have any impressions because he's the Lord himself. Where is a question of impressions, samskaras? No samskaras. His pure soul, he is pure, the great soul who has come. So his desire, one of the desire was that young child of 6 or 7, it would be splendid if the spirit which possessed my aunt would possess me. I will tell you now itself what was another desire when he was a child. His another desire, Ramakrishna's another desire was, you'll be shocked to hear, his desire, his dream was, if he had another life, Gadadhar wanted to become a child widow. Can you imagine? He wanted to become a child widow, a girl, born as a girl, a child widow, and always having the relationship with God as his lover, like Lord Krishna, then attain, realize God, do all the services of Lord Krishna, in that way being a child widow. This was one of the dreams. See, we dream so many dreams, worldly dreams, but here you can see Ramakrishna's dream that if you would have had another life, you would have been born as a child widow and always do the service of Lord Krishna with the bhava, there is no Madhura bhava. So establishing relationship with God. Madhura bhava is one of them. So establishing relationship with God in the form of Krishna being his husband. So when Ramakrishna grew up and he took up experimenting religion and all different types of paths leading to God, he even practiced this and attained the highest, the Madhura Bhava too. That is a different question. We'll be seeing that. Now I'm just telling you what was the desire of this child. We have so many different desires and dreams. See, we are seeing one of the desire and dream of our great child was, it would be splendid if the spirit which possessed my aunt would possess me. So experimenting things, he wanted to make himself as an experimenting thing whereby he could see God, he could realize God. So you can see that in the seed form, not seed form, it's so strong. It's just like I remember, see, there are so many devotees, especially the child devotees. We have heard of Prahalada, we have heard of Dhruva, we have heard of so many child devotees. But I was shocked, I was surprised, and I was it was so pleasant to hear the story of one of the child devotee. Who was that? Parikshit. Parikshit was one of the greatest child devotees. See, Prahalada got the mantra of Lord Narayana when he was in the womb of his mother by Narada Maharshi. And we know the story of Prahalada, how he grew up and then became a great devotee. And the Lord himself had to take up one avatara for him. Nowhere can you see that Lord has come down for just one person, taking an avatara, just to protect one child. He had to take that peculiar avatar of Narasimha, just to protect one great devotee. The whole avatara came to that. So Prahalada was so great. So even in his 7 or 8 or 9th year, he realized that God had to come take that form, Narasimha. And we also, because when Lord asked him, ask some boons, he was not ready to ask any boons. I have got you, I don't want anything. I have not called you to get something. I love the Lord, that's all, there ends the matter. I didn't want even the boon. So it is Shuddha Bhakti. At this small age, he didn't have any desire except realizing God. God for God's sake, pure devotion, that's all. So he stands for that. So just Krishna tells, Arthi, Artharthi, Jignasu, Gnani cha Bharatarshava. So the Jignasatva, Gnatum Icha, to realize God was so intense. As a small child, he started doing sadhana from the womb of the mother. Now we will see another child devotee. What are his ways? By that we can compare. Ramakrishna is himself the Lord, but we can just see how in them all these things are manifested, even in their childhood. So let us go to the life of this Parikshit. You know, Parikshit was the son of Abhimanyu and Uttara. You know, Uttara and Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was the son of Arjuna from Subhadra, Krishna's sister. So Abhimanyu's son through Uttara. So Arjuna and Subhadra gave birth to Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu's wife was Uttara. So their child from Uttara was Parikshit. So when Parikshit was in the womb of Mother Uttara, Abhimanyu was no more at that time. He died in the battle, because you know that how so many villains, all the bad guys of the Mahabharata war, Duryodhana and others killed him from behind, stealthily deceived him. We all know that he was a great warrior. They couldn't defeat him straightforward. So they had to take to this bad, wrong ways. So that Abhimanyu's son Parikshit, when he was in the womb of the mother Uttara, you know, Ashwatthama had taken a vow that he will kill all the progeny of Pandavas. He will eliminate all the Pandavas. So he went to the sleeping children of Pandavas, the Upapandavas, in their tents after the war. They were sleeping, Draupadi's children. He went and killed them all while in sleep, in a very cowardly way. And then there was a war between our Arjuna and Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama also knew all the ways of the archery. So he took up Brahmastra, one of the greatest astras, and put it on Arjuna. Used it on Arjuna. Arjuna also used Brahmastra. He was expert in using that Brahmastra, something like a nuclear missile. Now both are equal. So both are now facing each other, the nuclear missile-like thing, Brahmastra. So then the whole world, creation will get destroyed. So many rishis and munis came and told to withdraw that back. Arjuna knew it how to withdraw, so he withdrew it. But now Ashwatthama did not know how to withdraw it. But even if he was not intending to withdraw it, you have to redirect it. You can't just simply withdraw, you have to redirect it on something. You have to give it some prey. So what did Ashwatthama do? He redirected it to the womb of Uttara, because he wanted to eliminate the whole root of Pandavas. He didn't want to save any Pandavas, kill all the children of Pandavas. So now he redirected that Brahmastra to the womb of Uttara to kill that even the child before coming, so that there will be no issues in the line of Pandavas lineage. That was his intention, bad intention. So now what happened? So now we shall go to Parikshit. Parikshit tells that when he was in the womb of his mother Uttara, he was meditating and he was seeing Lord Narayana. He was having the vision. Can you imagine? Such a great devotee, Parikshit. Even in the womb, the baby, you know how the baby will be there. He was having the vision of Narayana, Vishnu, in the womb of the mother. Now suddenly the baby felt there was some smoke and suffocating, and he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe. There was some suffocation. He was feeling very bad, unpleasant. There was smoke covering inside the womb, even inside the womb. Then that baby saw, somehow it was saved. He was preconceived, the babies will come out very soon. He was preconceived because of that. Why? Here, this Ashwatthama had put that Brahmastra directed towards the womb. So then when he saw so much of smoke and dark, this thing, cloud-like thing covering him, and he was getting suffocated, then that baby saw one discus chakra coming there and removing all the smoke and protecting it. Who did that? Lord Krishna has sent his Sudarshana chakra, which was more powerful than Brahmastra, and protected the child. But it was preconceived. Earlier it came out. As soon as it came out, it started. Generally the baby will be crying or keeping quiet. But this baby, as soon as it came out of the womb, it started searching. It started searching. It cannot speak. It has to cry, only cry. But it started searching. The baby, as soon as it is born, we saw that as soon as Gadadhar was born, even the slime and blood and the placenta is not removed. The baby slid and went to that and put on the ash on its body, and to show that he was Shiva. Vishnu putting on the ashes, Shiva putting on the namam of Vishnu, Shiva becoming Vaishnava, Vishnu becoming Shaiva. There's no difference. He wanted to show that. We all saw that. And here, what is this baby? It's a devotee, such a great devotee. All Prahlada became great, Dhruva became great devotee even when they were children. But here, see, this great devotee, in the womb, he was meditating on Narayana Vishnu. And when he was put out of the womb, now he couldn't see Narayana or Vishnu. So what was he searching? What was he testing this world? He was searching for Lord Vishnu or Narayana. As soon as he was born, he was searching. He was running here and there, wriggling out, searching for something. And what was he searching for? He was searching where I was having the vision. I was seeing Narayana Vishnu in the womb. Now where did he go? Where did Lord Narayana go? We all of us start searching for the Lord after so much of beatings and difficulties in the life. Arthis and Artharthis, for something, we go on asking God for money, that and this. Only God is a medium. And after so much of difficulties in life, we want to realize God or see God. That too, many times we may get in the old age. Some people, even in the old age, they don't want to think of God. They want so many, have desires, so many other things, worldly things. But this baby, as soon as it is born, it is searching, it is testing this world. In Advaita, highest thing is neti neti. Na iti, not this, not this. This is not God. This is not God. What is God? Where is God? This is not God. Neti neti marga. But here, the neti marga in the form of devotion. This is not Vishnu, which I was seeing in the womb. This is not this world which I am seeing everywhere. The people I am seeing everywhere. His grandparents were there. His mother was there. He was not concerned. That baby was not concerned. It is just born. But it is seeking for something. It is testing this world. Where is Narayana? Where is Narayana? Where is Vishnu, which I was seeing in the womb? Then it saw Lord Krishna standing there. Amongst the group of people, Krishna was there with Arjuna and other Pandavas. As soon as he saw Lord Krishna standing there, then the baby became quiet. Why? It came to know that is my Narayana, that is my Vishnu, Avatara. So it became quiet, laughing until it was crying, searching. That's why that baby got the name Parikshit. What is meant by Pariksha? In Sanskrit or any other Hindi or any other language, Pariksha means test, examination, testing, Pariksha. So he was testing. As soon as the baby was born, it was testing. These people are not my Lord Narayana. They are not Vishnu. This world doesn't seem to be like my Vishnu. Where is my Narayana? Where is my Vishnu? He was searching, he was testing. Where is Vishnu? So he saw Lord Krishna and came to know that is my Narayana and kept quiet, laughing, seeing at Lord Vishnu again. So that's why he got the name Parikshit, Pariksha. So you can see the child devotee's greatness, and he is aspiring to see the Lord, so that we can see in the childhood itself so many great things like that manifested. Because here the Lord doesn't want to go and see anything, because he himself is the Vishnu. There he saw Krishna and kept quiet. What will Ramakrishna see and keep quiet? Because he himself is the Lord who has come to show us the way. So now he wants to experiment. He wants to do all the things by which even in the childhood, he wants to show I am Shiva. He wants to show I am Vishnu. But he showed it in different ways even before he was born. And now he wants to experiment and make his own personality and show us, yes, you can also realize God. All the paths, all the scriptural paths which are shown us earlier, they're all true. All the scriptural texts of Hinduism, like the Vedas, everything is true. They lead us to the same one God. Every path, through every path, you can go to the same one God. So he wanted to do that experimentation. Now itself he's aspiring for that as a small child. He's telling, it would be splendid if the spirit which possessed my aunt would possess me. The reader is already acquainted with Manik Raja. I told that Manik Raja owned that mango grove and a big palatial building. He was a great landlord, and he used like that Gadadhar should come to his house. Then once when Kshudiram, he was a great friend of Kshudiram. Because of his great qualities, he revered him. So used to be a very great friend of Kshudiram. So once when Kshudiram took that small baby, the child of 6 or 7, Gadadhar, to the house, you saw that in the last class, how splendidly he went and got acquainted with everybody. He could mix with everybody, men, women, old, young, children, everybody. No inhibitions, no angularities. So simple. Everybody liked him. So much of joy when he's there. So when next time somehow our Kshudiram couldn't come, so the Manik Raja and the brothers, they used to send the woman of the house to bring from 4 or 5 kilometers. Bursubo is another village. So from there they would send the women of the house to bring Gadadhar. Then they would keep him in the house, treat him, worship him, give him so many presents, feed him with so many sweets and so many other things, offerings, then bring him back to the house. So many a times they used to take him. The brother and Manik Raja came to know that it was here, that this child had many divine manifestations. He was not an ordinary child. They felt so much of joy in his presence. I explained about that in the last class. So now this Manik Raja, we are now discussing here. Sharda Nandaji Maharaj is telling, for various reasons, Kshudiram could not go again to Manik Raja's place for some time. And this Manik Raja would send people. Gadadhar became such a pet of the Brahmana family that they used to send for him whenever Kshudiram could not go to Bursubo for some days. Gradually, a year went by, and Gadadhar was now 7. As the child's sweet nature developed, everybody loved him more and more. Whenever the women of the village prepared any delicacies in their homes, whenever the women of the village prepared any delicacies in their homes, their first thought was to feed the boy with a portion of it. It is just like the practice in the houses in the Indian household is, whatever they prepare, they first offer it to the Lord, and then they consume that as a prasad. Then the mind and the body of the children, the members of the family who eat that will be purified. That is a practice in India. Many people, many families are practicing that even now. I have seen some of the Vaishnava families, whenever they bring vegetables or anything to the house, they offer it in the shrine to the Lord and then only take to the cooking as if the Lord is the master. and they are just their servants taking with his permission. So everything, cooked food, milk, everything is offered, fruits to the Lord, and then consumed. That is the habit, that is the practice which we can even see in some of the traditional families in India even now, in spite of all the Western influences and everything going away. But we can find that even now in many of the families, we grew up in that atmosphere. So they will offer everything. So now all the women while cooking, so you can't offer anything, because if you think that that boy Gadadhar is just like any other child, they could have eaten it, kept it, then they could have offered it. But somehow that's not happening. Even while cooking, the women there, if they are cooking some special delicacies, they used to think in their mind, they used to feel, whenever the women of the village prepared any delicacies in their homes, their first thought was to feed the boy with a portion of it. So until then, they would not get satisfied. So it is naturally coming out, because he's the Lord. He has come. They have to, the Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, you can find him. He has come. So they cannot be satisfied without offering that delicacy to Gadadhar with the portion of it. His playmates, we are all his playmates now. We are in Kamarpukur, taking the guise of the small children. We are with him. His playmates never felt happy till they had shared their food with him. All his playmates, whatever their mothers used to give, or they had something, they would come first share with Gadadhar, then only they would be satisfied. What is that attraction? Why should the children feel? The moment children see some chocolate or something, then there was no question of chocolate. It would be sweet, like jalebi, bundi, and so many other different sweets, or something the mothers would give them, or maybe rasgullas and that and this. But what is that attracting them? The moment the children see any sweet or something, the first thing that you eat it off. They want to eat it. They will not share it with anybody else. That is attraction. But here you can see the playmates, the children there in Kamapukur never felt happy until they had shared their food with him. He had such charming ways and spoke and sang so sweetly. He could sing. His voice was very good. The boy's voice was very good and his ways were charming. So he had such charming ways and spoke and sang so sweetly that the neighbors cheerfully put up with his childish pranks. So everybody would put up with his childish pranks. He used to tease, he used to taunt, he used to play, he used to be naughty, he used to be mischievous. Just like Krishna in Vrindavan, he used to steal butter, he used to take away, steal the milk, and do so much of this thing, breaking the pot. But all the gopis, they used to simply come to complain to Yashoda so that they can see Krishna again, not a real complaint. They were happy in spite of the mischiefs of naughtiness of Lord Krishna as a child. Likewise, here we can see he had such charming ways and spoke and sang so sweetly that the neighbors cheerfully put up with his childish pranks. They were happy. Come, be naughty, be childish. The pranks, we want your pranks. Because his ways were so charming, they used to enjoy it, they used to welcome it. Can you imagine that? Can you have such things? If any neighboring children comes and do pranks, then you'll chase them out. Or they will complain to their parents, take him away. But here, they are welcoming it. They are enjoying it. Because his charming ways, his beautiful voice, he used to sing so sweetly. You know, his voice of Gadadhar was so sweet when he grew up as Ramakrishna, when he used to sing in front of Divine Mother Kali and to other deities. Mother Kali used to come attracted by that. If Divine Mother Kali gets attracted by the voice and singing of Ramakrishna, then what with other people, ordinary people like us? If that voice, the devotion of Ramakrishna would attract even the highest Divine Mother, Kali, Durga herself, what will happen to us ordinary beings if we hear the voice, if we see that form, the pranks, the childishness? So once Mother Sharda Devi used to tell in later on period that Narendra was a beautiful singer. Ramakrishna used to get attracted by the way he used to sing. Ramakrishna used to love the singing and get attracted. He used to cry, he used to go to Samadhi. He used to shed tears. As soon as Narendra started singing, he used to hear with rapt attention and he used to go to deep Samadhi. So he used to again and again ask Narendra to sing. He was very well, he was versatile in all the types of singing. He had learned Hindustani, that is Khyal Paddhati in Hindustani classical music. Then he knew Tungri, Tappa. He had learned that another school of singing. Then he also had studied Drupad. That is the origin of Hindustani classical music, Drupad Anga. So that also he had mastered. He knew percussion instrument like pakhavas, tabla. He could play tabla. He was very versatile in tabla. He could play tabla whole night when the singers used to be singing. He could play whole night. So he was expert in so many things, Narendra. And he was a well-trained classical musician. He could sing very well. Ramakrishna used to go to Samadhi, hearing that voice and hearing that devotional song of Narendra, that Swami Vivekananda. Now, he's classically trained. He has a very good voice. Ramakrishna used to get attracted by his voice. So he was trained even in Western music too. But Sharda Devi tells, if you would hear, Ramakrishna was not trained in classical music. Nobody had trained him, just used to see how in the dramas, in the jatras and other places, people, singers, devotional singers used to sing, the village ballads used to sing, and he learned all that in that way. That's all. No training. Self-taught. Beautiful voice. No culturing, sitting hours together and practicing alapana and that and this practices, nothing. But Mother Sharda Devi used to tell, even Narendra's singing would pale into insignificance if you had heard the way Ramakrishna used to sing. It was so sweet. Mother Sharda Devi is comparing the well-trained classical musician, the topmost voice in everything, expert Narendra singing. Ramakrishna used to go to Samadhi, but I have heard Ramakrishna singing. So when you could hear the voice of Ramakrishna singing, Mother Sharda Devi is telling, Narendra's voice would pale into insignificance. So that's what Mother Sharda Devi used to tell, the voice and the beautiful singing of Ramakrishna. So now you can see, if Mother Kali, if Mother Durga had to come running to hear the devotional songs of Ramakrishna, then what to speak of the ordinary people there in Kamarpukur? They were so charmed. He had such charming ways and spoke and sang so sweetly that the neighbors cheerfully put up with his childish pranks. No, whatever you could do, no amount, so much of pranks and so much of mischief, they would be happy, they would welcome, they would put up with everything. About this time, an incident occurred which made Gadadhar's parents and friends very anxious about the boy. What was that incident? Let us go. We are already in Kamarpukur. We will go and see what is that incident which made both father and mother, Kshudiram and Chandramani Devi, anxious. What was that incident? About this time, an incident occurred which made Gadadhar's parents and friends very anxious about the boy. By the grace of God, Gadadhar was born with a strong and robust constitution, and until now, he had not suffered from any disease. As a result, he was wonderfully buoyant and cheerful like a free bird. Well-known physicians say that it is the absence of body. It is the absence of body consciousness. That is the sign of health. Now, how to know that you are healthy? When you don't feel that you have a body. You don't know that you have a body at all. You're so joyful. You are happy. That is the indication that you are very healthy. The moment you become unhealthy, then immediately you know, oh, there is a pain here, there is a pain there, I have a headache, I have that pain, I have this pain, I have tooth pain. You know that you have a body. So then you know you are some disease, ill health has come to you, roga. So how is that? You will feel that if you know that you don't have a body, then it is a sign that you are very healthy. So here you can see that endowed as he was by nature with great powers of concentration. So the boy enjoyed this kind of health from the birth. Gadadhar was born with a strong and robust constitution, and until now he had not suffered from any disease. As a result, he was wonderfully buoyant and cheerful like a free bird. Well-known physicians say that it is the absence of body consciousness that is the sign of health. It was this kind of health that the boy enjoyed from his birth, endowed as he was by nature with great powers of concentration. He became so identified with an object on which he set his mind that he seems to lose his outer consciousness entirely. Whenever there was something beautiful, whenever you would see something special, his mind would get concentrated on that, focus on that so much that he would be oblivious of the other things outside. That powers of nature that he had, that power of concentration, he became identified with any object, with an object on which he had set his mind, that he seemed to lose his outer consciousness entirely. The enchanting weave of the vast green fields. Kamarpukur, even now if you go to Kamarpukur and Jairambati, you can get stretch and stretch of green paddy field, lakes, beautiful lakes everywhere, ponds everywhere, green stretch. And when the paddy is full and now it is ripened and it is about to be taken, cut, it would become golden in color. Then you can see everywhere the field stretch acres together, straight plain field, golden in color. But when the paddy is growing, it becomes green, everywhere green and green. So it should be so beautiful. The nature is so beautiful. Even now, if you go there, in spite of all the modern things coming up, so many concrete buildings, then what would be then during the period that is 170 years or 165 years before? You can imagine how beautiful the nature was in Kamarpukur and Jairambati. So now, the enchanting weave of the vast green fields, fanned by the gentle breeze, the incessant flow of the river, you have to feel it. Now, we should not just read it like a novel or something. You have to feel everything. Then you can enjoy it more. What is that? The enchanting weave. You have to imagine now. Not imagine you are in Kamarpukur. You are seeing all these things. The enchanting weave of the vast green fields, fanned by the gentle breeze, the incessant flow of the river. Now in Johannesburg, to imagine the gentle breeze is very difficult because today it was showing 2 degrees. The temperature is 2 degrees. It may go to 0 degree. It may even go to minus also, -1, -2, because winter has started now here. It will go up to June, July, August, middle of August. Then the weather will slowly reduce, the cold will reduce. But now it is peaking. It is still now today when I saw in the morning, it was 2 degrees. So you can't imagine the gentle breeze now. It will be very cold. Only in the summer, in the heat of India, you can enjoy the gentle breeze. But we are all now in Kamarpukur, in the heat of Kamarpukur, so we can enjoy the gentle breeze here. So fanned by the gentle breeze, the incessant flow of the river, the melodious songs of the birds. Imagine the melodious songs of the birds, chirping, and above all the magic of ever-changing clouds in the deep blue sky would at times unfold their mastery and glory to the boy's inner vision and hold him spellbound. He would then lose himself completely and enter the unknown, distant, and solitary domain of the spirit. The experience we now relate also had its origin in the boy's tendency towards the spiritual contemplation of beauty. The spiritual contemplation of beauty. What is nature? The beauty in the nature is just nothing but the expression of the Lord's joy. Earlier itself, while our Shardanandaji Maharaj was explaining about the beautiful nature, weather during the time of birth of Gadadhar, we saw that he was describing spring. Then it was spring, Vasanta, Ritu. So he was describing that as that beauty there, more manifestation of Brahman's beauty, the Lord's beauty during that spring. Ordinarily, all the beauty of the weather and everything will be so nice. That is the expression of the Lord's joy. But now in the spring, when Ramakrishna was born, he's telling more such beauty was expressed. And now, when Gadadhar is seeing the joy of the Lord, his own beauty there in the form of the beautiful scene, the natural scene, scenic beauty, Prakriti Saundarya. Prakriti was so beautiful, the nature was so beautiful. So his mind would get focused, his mind would get concentrated because he's seeing the expression of Lord there, Parabrahmas, the Virat Swarupa, the cosmic form of the Lord there. So he would be spellbound. What would happen there? Where changing clouds in the deep blue sky would at times unfold their mastery. So such beautiful paints, you bring the paints, the paintings of some artist, whatever the most beautiful colors you might have used, but you cannot compare to the natural beauty there on the sky, the different colors coming there, the hues, something that is natural, which you can't get it in something unnatural. The natural beauty you see in the nature, just go see the sunset and the beautiful sky, the birds chirping, the green meadows there, that you cannot express the joy because it is the joy of the Lord. So the enchanting weave of the vast green fields fanned by the gentle breeze, the incessant flow of the river, the melodious songs of the birds, and above all the magic of ever-changing clouds in the deep blue sky would at times unfold their mystery and glory to the boy's inner vision and hold him spellbound. He would then lose himself completely and enter the unknown, distant, and solitary domain of the spirit. The experience we now relate also had its origin in the boy's tendency towards the spiritual contemplation of beauty. One day, while roaming carefree in the fields, Gadadhar looked up towards the sky and saw a newly formed dark cloud. So he saw in the sky a newly formed dark cloud. Gadadhar looked up towards the sky and saw a newly formed dark cloud, and against it, the orderly movement of a flock of cranes in full flight. I don't know, we can see the cranes here in other parts of the country. In India, you can see a lot of cranes. They have a long beak and their body color will be very bright white, beautiful white color. And they all fly in formation, beautiful formation in V and different shapes. You can see them flying together. The formation will be very beautiful. So white in color, bright white. And in the background, the blue sky, then the dark cloud, very dark cloud. And in that background, Gadadhar is seeing that beautiful formation of the flight of that white crane. You can just imagine it. Blue sky, new formation of the black dark cloud. And then against that background, a flock, group, so many cranes, white cranes are flying in beautiful formation, so beautifully. So Gadadhar, that small child, saw towards the sky, looked at towards the sky, and a newly formed dark cloud, and against it, orderly movement of flock of cranes in full flight, with their snow white wings outspread. The boy became so completely absorbed in the beauty of it all. The awareness of his own body and of all other earthly surroundings vanished altogether. And he fell down unconscious. He fell down unconscious. His friends, finding him in that condition, were alarmed and distressed. They sent word to his parents, and the boy was carried home from the field. As soon as he regained consciousness, he was his old self again. Naturally, this incident caused a lot of worry to Kshidaram and Chandra Devi, and they thought of various means to prevent its happening again. In fact, they thought it to be the happening of fainting fits and wanted to arrange for remedies like propitiatory rites. But Gadadhar told them again and again that what had happened to him was really due to his being merged in a feeling he had never experienced before, and that although he was found outwardly unconscious, he was conscious inwardly and had experienced a unique bliss. However, as it did not recur, the boy's health was considered satisfactory. Although Kshidaram felt he was subject to fits, and Chandra was convinced that he had come under evil eyes. Owing to these uncertainties, his attendance at school was stopped for some time. So free as he was to go wherever he liked in the village, the boy gave himself up to play and fun, even more than before. Now, how much ever Gadadhar could explain that nothing has happened, it was not a health problem or something. Though he was unconscious, he was conscious within. He's explaining to them, nothing to worry. So, but Chandramani Devi and Kshidaram thought it was some fainting fits. Gadadhar told them again and again that what happened to him was really due to his being merged in a feeling he had never experienced before. And that although he was found outwardly unconscious, he was conscious inwardly and had experienced a unique bliss. Joy, he was full of joy, ananda, bliss, unique bliss. However, as it did not reoccur, the boy's health was considered satisfactory, but Kshidaram felt he was subject to fits, and Chandra Devi was convinced that he had come under evil eyes. It's but natural for mother to feel like that. Owing to these uncertainties, his attendance at school was stopped for some time. So free as he was to go wherever he liked in the village, the boy gave himself up to play and fun even more than before. This was an opportunity for him to play, to be in fun more than before. Gadadhar was about 7 years and a half at the time of the great autumn festival of Bengal in 1843. Now Gadadhar is 7.5 years. And that was 1843 at the time of the great autumn festival of Bengal. The reader already knows Ramachandra Bandyopadhyaya, Kshidaram's prosperous nephew. He used to spend most of his time at Medinipur in the interest of his profession as a pleader, until his family came to live at his parental home in the village of Selampur. Every year, Ramachandra celebrated the grand autumn festival at great expense at his village home. We have heard from Hriday that during the 8 days of worship, the Selampur house used to ring with music and song. The family experienced a continuous flow of joy in feeding Brahmanas, that is the learned people, the godly people, offering parting gifts to Pandits, the scholars, feeding the poor and giving them cloths. On those occasions, Ramachandra would bring his revered uncle to his house and spend home happy days with him. Now, this nephew has become very prosperous because of he was a pleader in the court and he was earning good money. He's rich now. So what is the duty of the rich? It is not to just accumulate more rich. Yes, go on accumulating more money as much as you want. But why God has given you, why God has made you the trustee? Ramakrishna used to tell, you are only a trustee, you are only a custodian of the wealth of Divine Mother. You have to use that in the service of the poor, service of the humanity, service of the society. So the richness, the prosperity, the wealth has been given by God, not to just use it selfishly on yourself and your family only, but to share. So you can earn more money, you can become more rich, but only that is to be used for the service of the humanity, for the society. So that is very, very important. Now it is being shown here by this Ramachandra in the guise of that worship of the deity, the 8 days worship. That worship is also done, given the proper place. But more than that, feeding of the poor, feeding of the learned, scholars, then giving clothing, not only food and so many other things, everybody is helped with. So that is the way by which we have to share our riches, share our prosperity with the society in that way. So many people in the society should be benefited. That is the way, right way of using our wealth, not to just consume it, just to, that's called, I think the name consumerism has come from that. Just enjoy yourself, being selfish. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells you have to live your life like a sacrifice. That is the word sacrifice, or homa, havan, or yaga, yagna has come from this word sacrifice. The meaning is sacrifice. Yaga, yagna means sacrifice. Yagna. So the whole life of ours is to be like a sacrifice to the Lord. So suppose somebody earns by his hard work, though we have earned money by hard work, and if we don't use that money in the form of sacrifice, offering it to Lord. So how can you offer it to Lord? By sharing with other poor people, sharing with the society, helping the needy. If you just eat it alone, even if you cook food, you have earned hard-earned money, you have cooked food, and if you eat without sharing with others, then Krishna tells, I call you a thief. Stena evacha. In Bhagavad Gita it is told, Krishna is telling, even if you have worked hard and earned the money, and you are about to cook the food and eat, then if you eat that food without sharing with others, with the poor, with the needy, with your family, if you eat alone, selfishly, just to enjoy, for your sense gratification, then Krishna tells, I call you a thief. Stena evacha. So you have to use all your riches, all your earnings as a sacrifice to the Lord. By feeding the children, by feeding the poor. That is the tradition of Hinduism. That is Sanatana Dharma, which Lord Krishna has given us. It was there from the beginning. The Vedika Dharma was there. But Krishna has told that you have to lead a life like a sacrifice, yagna. Even if you have cooked your own food with your self-effort, you have earned the money. If you don't share, if you just eat it yourself, if you don't use that as a sacrifice, then I call you a thief. So that is what Krishna is telling. So now you can see Ramachandra, Bandhopadhyaya, the nephew of Kshudiram, he has become very rich, prosperous, but he's sharing with the society. And also using that for the worship of gods and goddesses, for the puja purpose, to feed the learned ones, the scholars, the poor people, giving them cloths, food, all are fed. The whole society is taken care of. So if every one of us, whatever we earn, we share with other people, poor people, you can make this whole world a heaven. You need not go to heaven there. But only we have to learn the art of sharing. That is what they call it. Ravi Ranganathanandaji Maharaj used to tell from one of the books he used to read. Latest what you call this genetic technology used to tell that the genes is selfish genes. It is there so deep. It has gone to the genes, the selfish. You don't have the nature of giving at all. Take, give. You will be telling, I want, I. You never give, you don't want to give. So that is selfish genes, he tells. That's the greatest obstacle. You have to learn to give. You have to learn to share. Then you become divine. So sharing with other people, whatever little you have, if everybody starts sharing with whatever little you take, share with others, share with your parents, share with your children, share with your neighbors, share with the poor people, then you can make this whole world a heaven. You need not go in search of heaven somewhere else. Wherever we are, we can make it a heaven. That's we can see. This year also, Ramachandra Bandyopadhyay is celebrating. So at that, you would be feeding the poor, giving them clothes, pandits, gifts. Everything was being done. So Ramachandra would bring his revered uncle to his house and spend some happy days with him. That year also, Shudiram and his family were cordially invited. When that time came, the autumn festival came, Shudiram had almost completed his 68th year now. Shudiram is our Gadadhar is 7.5-year-old and Shudiram is 68 year and had now lost his former vigor because he's old on account of dyspepsia and dysentery, from which he had been often suffering during the previous years. So in spite of his desire to go, he hesitated to accept his dear nephew's loving invitation. He began to feel an unaccountable but strong disinclination to leave his humble cottage, his family, and especially Gadadhar, even for a few days. Then he thought, if I do not go this year, who knows whether with my increasing weakness and my old age, I shall be able to go there again? He at first intended to take Gadadhar with him, but then he remembered that this would make Chandramani Devi very anxious. As he could not take Gadadhar, he finally decided to go with his eldest son, Ramkumar. Spent the few days of worship with Ramachandra, his nephew, and then returned. He paid homage to Raghuvir, the family deity. Ramachandra Raghuvir bade goodbye to all, kissed Gadadhar, and started for Selampur. A few days before the commencement of the festival, Ramachandra was very happy at the arrival of his revered uncle and his cousin Ramkumar. Ramachandra was very, very happy. Such a saintly person has come. Shudiram had a relapse of his old complaint, dysentery. Immediately after reaching Selampur and was placed under treatment, but that did not interfere with the happy mood in which the 6th, 7th and 8th day of the bright fortnight was spent. There are Navaratris, different Navaratris, Vasanta Navaratri and Sharan Navaratri. There are 4 Navaratris. But the one Sharan Navaratri is celebrated in a grand manner. But another, this thing in Bengal also, this Vasanta Navaratri is also, that is the autumn festival. So that is what is happening. So then too we have this Navaratri 9 days. So now the puja of Divine Mother is taking place, especially Mother Saraswati. So it did not interfere the happy mood in which the 6th, the 7th and the 8th days of the bright fortnight, that is the Shukla Paksha, that is the 7th means Saptami, 8th means Ashtami, 6th means Shashti, Saptami, Ashtami of the Shukla Paksha, bright fortnight was spent. On the 9th day, however, Kshudiram's illness, that is the Navami. It's not Sharan Navaratri, that is Durga Puja, this is Vasanta Navaratri, autumn festival. So you should not confuse with that Durga Puja. This is another Navaratri. Shudiram's illness suddenly took a serious turn and caused great anxiety in that mart of joy. Ramachandra called in efficient doctors and started nursing his uncle with the help of his sister Hemangini and cousin Ramkumar. But Kshudiram's condition did not improve. The 9th day passed somehow, and now came the 10th day, Vijaya. So that is the 10th day, we call it as Vijaya Dashami. So the Vijaya, especially sacred to the Hindus at the time of reunion. That day, Kshudiram became so weak that it was difficult for him to speak at all. As soon as the immersion ceremony of the image of Durga was over in the afternoon, oh, I got confused. This is Durga Puja only. Sorry for that. This is Durga Puja, not this thing. This is Sharan Navaratri only. So the 9th day passed, and now on the 10th day, Vijaya, especially sacred to the Hindus at the time of reunion, that day Kshudiram became so weak that it was difficult for him to speak at all. As soon as the immersion ceremony of the image of Durga was over in the afternoon, Ramachandra hastened back to his uncle's bedside. He found that last moment was drawing near. On inquiry, he learned that Kshudiram had been lying silent in the same condition for a long time. Then Ramachandra said to him in tears, "Uncle, you always take the name of Raghuvira, Ramachandra, your Ishtadevata. Why don't you do so now?" The sound of the name at once roused Kshudiram, and in a trembling, halting voice he said, "Is that you, Ramachandra? Have you come after immersing the image of Mother, Divine Mother Durga? Then make me sit up." So he made him sit up. He himself expressed the desire to sit up. When Ramachandra, Hemangini, his sister, and Ramakumar, his elder son, had helped him with great care to sit up on the bed, Kshudiram, in a solemn tone, uttered the name of Raghuvira thrice. Raghuvira, Raghuvira, Raghuvira. That is Ramachandra's name. He uttered Sri Rama's name thrice, the name of Raghuvir thrice, and left his body. The drop of water thus mingled with the ocean. Lord Raghuvir merged the breath of life of the devotee in his infinite life, and thus blessed him with immortality and peace everlasting. So, everybody, this life is like a railway journey. Everybody has to get down when their station comes. This whole life is like a journey. So while we are going in the train, we start alone in the journey. Then while moving forward in another station, some more people come in, sit by the side of you. They become very close to you. They all share your food. They also talk. All of them will be very happy. So some more people will come in the next station. Then you'll be traveling for a long time in a happy manner. But when the person's destination comes, he has to get down. He cannot wait for the others, whether they have become very close to him or not. When his destination comes, he has to get down from the train, leave them all, and go to his destination. So everyone has to get down in their own destination. Likewise, this whole life is like that, a journey. So it is now the time of Gadadhar to get down, to reach his destination. So his life, our Kshudiram's life, has now become one with Raghuvir, merged in the breath of the life of the devotee. Lord Raghuvir merged the breath of life of the devotee, Kshudiram, in his infinite life, and thus blessed him with immortality and peace everlasting. He has finished the duty of looking after Raghuvir in the form of Gadadhar. Gadadhar Vishnu was looked after with great care by this great devotee until now. He has finished his job. Now Gadadhar has to go to the next stage. So the scene is cleared of Father Kshudiram. because he has to enter the next stage. Even the death of his father has some meaning. The Sutradhari, the one who is controlling this drama, this Leela, has some higher purpose for this too. So at the dead of the night, the village rang with the loud singing of the praises of the Divine Lord. Kshudiram's body was then brought to the river bank and was cremated by consecrating it in fire. The news reached Kamarpukur the next day and filled Kshudiram's hitherto happy home with sorrow. When the period of mourning was over, Ramkumar performed the Shraddha ceremony. The last rites is called Shraddha. In Hinduism, the Shraddha ceremony, last rites, so it comes from the word Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Shraddha means whatever you do with faith. So Shraddha ceremony, the last rites of Kshudiram was as prescribed by the scriptures and fed many Brahmanas, that is the learned scholars and the godly men, thus completing his father's last rites. It is said that Ramachandra gave a large sum towards the expenses of the ceremony performed in honor of his departed uncle. Now, what is happening in the mind of Gadadhar? Kshudiram's death affected the child of the family in many ways. He had been Chandra's companion in weal and woe for 44 long years. 44 long years, Kshudiram was the companion of Chandramani Devi in weal and woe for 44 long years. It was therefore natural that she found the world now empty without him and felt his loss every moment. She had been accustomed for long to take refuge at the lotus feet of Raghuveer, and now that the world had no more attraction for her, her whole mind was always drawn in that direction. But the world would not release her till the time was ripe. It gradually drew her back to the joys and sorrows of the daily life through her concern for the 7-year-old son, Gadadhar, and her 4-year-old daughter, Sarvamangala. Thus the sorrow-stricken Chandra somehow passed her days in the service of Raghuveer and in bringing up a youngest son and daughter. After Kshudiram's demise, the entire responsibility of maintaining the family fell on the shoulders of his eldest and devoted son Ramkumar. Now, as he could not afford to waste any time in grief, his whole mind and energy was employed in seeing that his bereaved mother and the little brother and sisters did not lack anything. The youngest brother, Rameshwar, now 18-year-old, was expected. The younger brother, Rameshwar, elder to Gadadhar, but younger to Ramkumar. So his name was Rameshwar. The younger brother, Rameshwar, now 18-year-old, was expected to help the family by earning money as soon as he had finished the study of Smriti and Jyotishya. And Ramkumar himself had to try to better the condition of the family by adding to his own income. Now, if you go to Kamarpukur, you can see the grandchildren, great-grandchildren who are looking after the ancestral property and also that doing the puja of the Raghuveera Shila there and the Shitala Devi, everything. There is a small shrine of the ancestral gods and goddesses there. That puja is done by these great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren of this person. Who is that? Rameshwar. Now, if you go to Kamarpukur, you can see them. Here, they are the great-great-grandchildren of the elder brother of Ramakrishna, that is Rameshwar. You can see them even now. So this younger brother Rameshwar, now 18 years old, was expected to help the family by earning money as soon as he had finished the study of Smriti and Jyotishya, and Ram Kumar himself had to try to better the condition of the family by adding it to his own income. His capable wife, finding that Chandra Devi was no longer able to cope with all the work, took upon herself most of the cooking and other household duties. So now you are seeing what is the household condition of Gadadhar. It is a common experience that nothing makes life so empty as the loss of a mother at one's infancy. It is a saddest, sorrowful thing that if the child loses father or mother when it is very young, it becomes orphan. So that is one of the most sorrowful things, which will be very painful. The child will feel the pain when it loses either its father or mother when it is very small, young, infancy. And what is this thing? Great sorrow if the child loses the mother in one's infancy and the death of a father in childhood and the loss of wife in youth, and if the parents lose their children in their old age. So these are the most sorrowful things. The pain is unbearable. So, but entirely dependent on the mother's care and love, the infant does not miss its father. But when it grows up and there is an awakening of its intelligence, it becomes aware of the father's special affection. The child's heart begins to be drawn towards the father as soon as it finds that he alone can satisfy certain desires, which even its fond mother cannot. Its feeling of loss is therefore very acute if the father dies at that time. Gadadhar too felt likewise when Kshudiram died. Many little things reminded him daily of his father, and deep sorrow lingered in his heart. But being more thoughtful and disciplined than other boys of his age, Gadadhar never openly gave way to his sorrow out of regard for his mother's feeling. Now the boy started thinking, if I cry, if I wail for my father, then that will increase the sorrow of my mother. So he didn't want that. So he controlled his sorrow so that it will not hurt the mother. You can see the child has so much love for mother. Matru Bhakti. I told about the ideal of Ganesha for Matru Bhakti that can be seen in Ramakrishna, the Gadadhar, the child. As a child, he loved his mother so much that he is suppressing his sorrow. He's not outwardly venting his sorrow for the loss of his father so that it will hurt his mother. So he has so much devotion, he has so much regard, so much love for the mother. He doesn't want to hurt mother in any way. Though he is pained, though he is at loss, but he doesn't want that his mother should be pained. So you can see the unselfish attitude, the love of mother. These are the traditions of Sanatana Dharma, our Hinduism, our India. Love for mother. The Western standard, just like birds and animals, as soon as the children grow up, they get separated. And in the house, mother will have a separate TV, child will have separate TV, vehicles will be separate, no sharing. What kind of this tradition is this? And they're happy with that. But you can't imagine those things in India. Mother, father, they are respected so highly. These are the traditions which are to be emulated. We have to learn. As a boy, this Gadadhar, boy of 7 or 7.5 years old, is so concerned for his mother. He doesn't vent his feelings so that mother will be hurt. He's so careful, he's so thoughtful, and loves his mother. He expresses through so many acts. He's not just going and sitting by the side of the mother and tell, oh mother, I love you, I like you so much. No. With every action, he brings out what is love, what is devotion. Devotion comes from the word service. It is not static, it is dynamic. Love and devotion has to be expressed by action, by seva. So we can see that small child showing so much of devotion to mother, Matru Bhakti. So let us all have that whenever our mother and father are with us. We have to serve them, to our heart content. That is the highest thing which you can do on earth. Ramakrishna stood for that. Highest devotion to mother. He served mother, even Ramakrishna, after getting sannyasa, after getting the highest God realization, nothing more on this world. This world becomes transitory. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. This world is Mithya. But he used to take care even after sannyasa, even at that, after realization of God, he used to take care of his mother with so much of care. He used to go massage her feet, press her feet, give her medicines until mother takes food. Chandramani, old Chandramani, he would not take food. In so many ways, after realizing God, Ramakrishna used to take care of mother till the end. And after Chandramani passing away, Ramakrishna, though a realized soul, he cried for 3 days and 3 nights, and he didn't take food for 3 days and 3 nights. That was the love of Ramakrishna. He's showing us. The Avatara, the Lord comes here to show us what is the ideal of being a son or a daughter. How we have to look after our parents, how greatly we have to revere our father and mother. They are the veritable expression of the Lord on this earth. The first Lord, the first Guru, the veritable expression, manifestation of God is our father and mother. In India, we have saying, the Lord couldn't be present at all the places. He was unable, so he created mother, so that he can show his love to the all people. So he created mother. So mother is the veritable manifestation of divinity, God. So you can see Gadadhar from his childhood, as a boy of 7, is showing how you can serve mother. He's not demanding anything. If he demands, if he is disobedient, he is harsh, the mother will be pained. So he doesn't want to demand anything. He's so much caring, he's so much loving mother. So we shall all learn all these things from Gadadhar. An ideal, now Gadadhar is showing how to be an ideal son or daughter, how to be an ideal children. So we have to inculcate, we have to teach the children. If the children read from their childhood about the nature of Gadadhar, how he used to love his father and mother, that trait will come to them too. It is to be taught, it is to be given to the children. The life of Rama, the life of Krishna, how Lord Ramachandra was so much devoted to mother and father. Just for the word of his father, he had to go to the forest, he gave up his kingdom. So these are also be told to our children so that they will inculcate these values of Hinduism, value of Sanatana Dharma. Let us all be blessed. I think we have already completed our time. So I will stop the discussion for today. We will again meet on Sunday and Monday. So tomorrow being Saturday in the evening, there will be Bhagavad Gita class. Then Sunday, Monday, we have the same Great Master, study of Great Master. Then Monday evening, we have Puja class. Tuesday evening, we have the Vivek Chudamani. Then again, Wednesday, it is Bhagavad Gita. Thursday, Friday, we have this Great Master study in the morning. All are welcome to the discussion. Let us meditate. Let us think of the great glories of the Lord and be blessed. So if you have any questions, I can entertain the question and doubts for 2-3 minutes. We have 2-3 minutes more. I think many of you will be in a sober mood because of the passing away of Kshudiram. So you may not have questions or doubts. Even then, if you have any questions on the topic of discussion today, we are encouraged to. Anybody, any question or any doubts? Okay, we will end the session with a closing prayer. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam प्रीणिते प्रीणितं जगत्। हरिः ओम तत्सत्। श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु। Namaskar to all of you. Thank you. Jai Ramakrishna. Om Namo Narayana.